Hey guys, Elisabeth from Legendary Potter Studios. This is where we read and have bookish adventures, discussions about books, and a dash of TV and movies. Come along on some bookish adventures, and I hope you have fun here. Hey guys, it's me Elisabeth. I'm back with another video. Today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be talking about two books by the same author. So basically, I read a book earlier this year. Well, I finished a book earlier this year. I made a review for it. I never uploaded it, and then I ended up deleting my clip that I had for it. It was just like a one clip type thing. And I decided that I wanted to talk about this book, but I also wanted to talk about another book by the same author. And the reason I decided to do this was because these are some of my favorite books of all time. And I just thought I needed to talk about these on my channel because basically the inspiration for this was that I found a video that someone else was talking about the one book, and I was like, okay, now I need to talk about these books. So I'll leave that link in the description below if you're interested in that other person's video, another booktuber that reads a lot of classics and Victorian era novels. But yeah, I just got really inspired after watching. Actually, I'm still in the middle of that video, but I was watching that video and I got super inspired. So here I am. We're going to be talking about Charles Dickens, Little Dorrit, and Nicholas Nickleby. The reason that I was so inspired to talk about this is because I literally don't hear anyone talk about these books ever. Like, I never hear anyone talk about Little Dorrit or Nicholas Nickleby. I don't think I've ever heard anyone besides this person that I just found talk about either of those books. Like, people will say, oh, I'm going to read this book by Charles Dickens, or I'm going to read, or I've read Great Expectations, or Oliver Twist, or Tale of Two Cities, or I plan to read this book, or, oh, I'm never going to read Dickens, or all of this stuff. But they never, ever talk about Little Dorrit or Nicholas Nickleby. And Little Dorrit and Nicholas Nickleby are two of my favorite books of all time. They're on my top 10 favorites list. The video for my top 10 favorite books will be out sometime in the future, probably next week. So if you want to see that, I will link it below when that comes out. But these are two of my favorite books of all time, and I just wanted to show you my copies of these books because I have multiple copies. So yes, these are my copies. We have two modern copies of Little Dorrit. We have this one, which I received for Christmas years and years and years ago. So this is my original copy. I think this was just from like Amazon or something. I'm not really sure. And the cover baffles me every time I look at it. I'm like, I don't know what this is from. It's not from the mini-series. And it baffles me because usually covers that I don't know the people, I'm just like, oh, whatever. But this person on the side here is in multiple things that I've seen. So that's what baffles me. I'm like, what is this meant to be from? Because I know that actor. It's really weird. And then this one is a copy that I found off of eBay, and it's from the mini-series. It's got clairvoyant in the front, so that's super cool. And those were both Little Dorrit. And then this one in the middle here, this is a very old copy of Little Dorrit. Let me see if I can remember what the date is on here. Really old. There is a date, I promise. The date is 1868, I believe. Really old. 1860s is really old. Also a favorite time period of mine, so that's actually pretty awesome. Then we have Nicholas Nickleby, also really old. I forgot to tell you the old Little Dorrit I found at a bookstore, the coolest bookstore in PA or something like that. It's this bookstore that's in a barn. I don't know what it's actually called. And this one I found at an antique store. I don't think this one has a date. I'm sorry. There might be some pages missing in the front or something. This one doesn't have a date, but it's like super old. And I buy Dickens books whenever I see them, when they're old, especially. If they're not old and I already own it, I'm not gonna buy it, but, you know. And then this one is from that same barn bookstore that I went to, and 1885 is the date for this one. So, really old, pretty awesome. Look at that cover. It's got some nice, like, floral designs on there. But yeah, I'm going to be talking about these books a little bit and telling you my ratings and thoughts on these books. Obviously, they're my favorite Dickens books and some of my favorite books of all time, so they've definitely got the highest rating. So yeah, let's just talk about these. So basically, let's talk about Nicholas Nickleby first, because that is the first book that I read out of these two. It's actually the first bigger novel that I read by Dickens. I think the first official book that I read by him was A Christmas Carol, but I read like a book that we had for Christmas. I would read it at Christmas or whatever, or my mom would read it to me when I was younger and stuff like that. So that aside, Nicholas Nickleby was the first book that I officially read by Dickens, like, that I was actually interested in Dickens. A Christmas Carol was kind of just one of those, like, oh, it's a Christmas story, it's a good book, but I didn't really think about the author too much. I was just like, this is just a Christmas story, you know. But for Nicholas Nickleby, I actually watched the movie. There's a movie version, let me post a picture here, that I really like, that I think does a pretty good job. And there's another movie version, picture here, that I've never seen, that I don't really want to watch, and I've never been interested in it. And the guy has, like, you know, blonde hair, and I don't know. It's just not how I pictured Nicholas, but whatever. But I saw the other movie version first. I saw that movie and I really liked the movie a lot at the time. I was like, this movie is so good, I love this. Like, and I knew it was based off of Charles Dickens' book, so I was like, I want to read this book. And my mom was like, I don't think you should read that. I don't think you'll be able to read that, like, you're too young, because Dickens can be hard to read. And then eventually I was just like, I want to read this book, I'm going to read it. And I did. I actually read it in a couple of months, or not a couple, but in a few months. Like, it didn't take me super long. I mean, it took me longer than, like, a normal book, but it didn't take me as long as another book that we'll be talking about. But sorry that cut off. My camera decided to be full, and then I had to put it onto my computer, which was a pain. For some reason it didn't want to go on there. Finally I got it to go on there, but for a second it wasn't working. Anyways, we were talking about Nicholas Nickleby. This book was absolutely amazing. If you want to read a Dickens book, if you want to get into Dickens and you are fine with reading, like, Dickens, because he's a little bit hard to read, at least for some people, he is, a lot of people I should say. His writing style is not the easiest to read, let's put it that way. It's amazing, it's just not the easiest to read. But if you want to read Dickens and you haven't heard of Nicholas Nickleby or haven't read it, definitely read it, because the characters in that story are just amazing. I can't even tell you. Just in every Dickens book, really, because he has so many characters in his books, and they're just amazing. But I just remember the characters in that book being so amazing. And I will say, I have actually technically read the book twice, because I listened to an audio dramatized version of it this year, and it was just as amazing. I remember listening to it and being like, yep, this is a 5-star book. This is just amazing. Like, even the audio drama was just absolutely phenomenal. I can't even tell you. Like, this book is just so good, and every time I think about it, I'm just like, I need to read that again, or listen to the audiobook again, or watch the movie again, or whatever. I'm just like, this is just so good. Like, I don't know how to explain it. You have to experience it for yourself, but it is absolutely amazing. I love Dickens. He is one of my favorite authors of all time. His books are just so amazing, and even though I've only read, I think it's about 4 at this point, they're just so amazing. I just, like, they're so good. He's such a good writer. Even though his writing is not the easiest to read, he is such a good writer. His characters are just amazing. And Nicholas Nickleby is about this boy who, his father dies, and he has to try and figure out a way to make money for his sister and for his family, his sister and his mother. And his uncle gets him a job. His uncle's like this rich dude that's like in the high society or whatever. And so basically he gets this job at a school. I don't really know what they call it, but it's like a school where an all boys school where where people send their children to live, I guess, essentially. And so he goes to work there, and it turns out to be a pretty horrible place. The owners of the school are pretty horrible, as well as their children. Terrible people, and the kids are treated really horribly. And so he has to teach these kids, and he is there for a little bit. I don't remember exactly how long he's there, but then he decides that he can't take this and he has to leave. So then he leaves, and one of the boys from the school follows him, and essentially he takes him on with him. He decides to let him come with him or whatever, and we just kind of follow these two as they go and try to look for another job, and then they go through all different things, and then he eventually ends up going back to London to his sister and his mother, and it's just this whole story, and it's amazing, and I just love it. I love the main character, Nicholas Nickelby. He's amazing. Obviously, he's the main character, so he's really great. And I also love Smike, who is also amazing. He's just so good. And I really, really, really love the characters of Frank and, what's the other guy's name? I always forget, but the Cheerable brothers are just amazing. Every time I think about this book, I think about those characters because they're just, I don't know what about them sticks out to me, but they're just amazing characters, and I love those characters so much, and I just love the whole story. There's also some really terrible characters like the Squeers, and Ralph Nickelby, their uncle, is horrible, and there's other great characters like Newman Noggs, he's great, and all of these characters. And basically, if you're into Dickens and you haven't read this book, or if you want to get into Dickens and need a book recommendation of his to read, definitely read this one because amazing. It's just so good. I don't know if I have anything else to say. I probably could keep talking on and on for ages, but I feel like this clip is already getting too long, and I need to talk about the other book, and that's probably going to take me forever as well. So this is going to be a long video. I'm very sorry. But Nicholas Nickelby is a 5 out of 5 stars. Honestly, I'd give it like a 6 out of 5 stars if I could. So I just think it's 100% amazing, and you should read it. If you can read Dickens, you should read it because amazing. On to Little Dorrit, my favorite period drama of all time. In my top 10 favorite books list, I did tie Little Dorrit and Nicholas Nickelby because I wanted to put them both on the list, and I thought they're just both amazing. But if I had to choose between, I definitely think I'd have to choose Little Dorrit. I have watched the miniseries, BBC miniseries for Little Dorrit, and that has been my favorite period drama film of all time. For the longest time ever, I absolutely loved it so much, and for the longest time I was like, I'm gonna read this book, and then I got it for Christmas years ago, I think like 2015, 16 or something, I don't know, and I was like, I'm gonna read this. So I did start reading it, and I read like a couple pages like that Christmas or whatever, but I was like, no, I need to finish the other books I'm in the middle of. And then I officially decided to pick it up in, I want to say 2019, 2018, something like that. I read like about half of it, and then I put it down. Don't ask me why I put it down. I just did. And then in 2019, 2020 or something, I was like, I'm gonna pick this up and try to finish it. I read a little bit more, but I didn't finish it. this year I finally finished it. In my calculations, I'm not 100% sure exactly what year I started officially reading it, but I've calculated as a rough estimate that it took me 3 years to read this book. And not because it was a bad book, like I said, it's one of my favorites, it's absolutely amazing, but just because Dickens can be a little hard to read, and just because my brain is just like, oh, I'm in the middle of this book, I need to, like, I get in the middle of so many books, and I have issues with that. But this book is amazing, and I finally finished it. See, this is the weirdest thing. So this year I was like, I'm going to finish this book because I've been dying to rewatch the miniseries. And I was so strongly wanting to rewatch the miniseries that I almost watched it. But I was like, no, I need to finish the book first and then watch it right after. So I did finish the book, but I only watched an episode of the miniseries. So I need to finish my rewatch of the miniseries. But it's just absolutely incredibly amazing, and the characters are amazing. I love how he can have characters that are just so well written and well done, because you have characters that you absolutely love, characters that you feel sorry for, and characters that you really hate. And like, he gives you a very diverse cast of characters, and like, there's so many oddballs in there that you just love. Like Panks, he is a strange person, but you love him. Like, he is hilarious and awesome, and it's just great. Again, this gets a 5 stars, and this story is about a girl named Amy Dorrit, and it's called, her nickname is Little Dorrit because she is a little person, and that's what people call her. And she's 22, and she lives in the Marshalsea with her father. She was born in the Marshalsea because her father has been in the debtor's prison for a very long time, and while he can't leave the Marshalsea, she can, and so she goes in and out, and she ends up getting a job for a lady, and Mrs. Clenham. And then Arthur, the main guy of the story, is this lady's son, and he sees that Little Dorrit is working there, and decides to figure out why she's working there, because his mom is, let's just say, she's crazy, and he's just like, why the heck is she helping this person? Like, what is her agenda behind this, essentially? So he decides to follow her back to the Marshalsea. He finds out that she lives there, and then he basically decides he's going to help her out and try to figure out how her dad, like, why his family is connected to her, and why his mother's helping her out, and basically he's going to try and help her out and try to figure out how to get her out of the Marshalsea, like her father out of the Marshalsea, and see if that his family wronged them in any way or something. And it's just an amazing, amazing story. There's so many characters that are just great. Some of the characters that I really, really enjoy are Amy Dorrit, obviously, and Arthur Clenham. Panks, I love Panks. And Maggie. Maggie is also amazing. And another character that's really funny and really idiotic is Edmund Sparkler. Oh my gosh. Such a character. And the Plornishes and Cavaletto, those are some great characters. And also Daniel Joyce, he's a great character as well. And then some of the characters that I really do not like are what's his name? William Dorrit. He is the worst. Mr. Dorrit is the worst. Like, Mrs. Clenham, no. Mrs. Clenham is horrible. And there's definitely some more. Fanny is not that great. I don't like Fanny, but I don't hate her as much as I think some people might. But I definitely don't like her. And Edward, oh my gosh, I hate Edward Dorrit. He is such I can't. He's really annoying. And I feel like there's another character that I like. Oh, Frederick. I like Frederick. He's awesome, the uncle. And yeah, there's just so many characters. The story is just so amazing. Oh, another character that I do not like is Mrs. Wade because, you know, little weird and creepy and evil as well. So there's that. And the main villain, what's his name? Rigo. Ooh, he's got issues. Anyways, those are the two books, Nicholas Nickelby and Little Dorrit. They're absolutely amazing. If you have not read them or watched the movie / miniseries, definitely, well, read the books first, then watch them. But definitely do both because they're amazing, and I really want to watch them now. So, there we go. But they're really good, and I highly recommend both of them. They both get a 5 stars. They're both just absolutely amazing. Dickens is amazing. If you're into classics, definitely should read some of his works because they're absolutely amazing. That is it for this video. If you like this video and want to see more of my videos, check out my channel, link below. If you're into history, historical, fashion, or sewing, check out my other channel, link below. Feel free to subscribe. Comment below what Dickens books you really like, or if you have any Dickens books that you want to read, or something Dickens related in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. I hope you have your own fun reading adventures. Bye.